It's Luke here for SimBoxx. Delighted this evening to be joined by boxing manager Neil Marsh. Very busy recently. Neil, how are we doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. How's yourself?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Really good. So, let's get straight into it off the back of two huge announcements. We'll go straight into arguably the bigger of the two announcements, if you like. Terence Crawford defending his WBO welterweight world title against David Avanesyan, the European welterweight champion. I think it's fair to say, Neil, that this was a bit of a bolt from the blue. We was looking at finally getting the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight over the line, and then up pops your man with the biggest fight of his career.
Yeah, it did. It come out the blue a little bit, but I think every British boxing fan would agree we deserved a bit of luck. Still a lot of hard work had to go in. It isn't just you giving it, lots of toing and throwing and different things. But yeah, sort of came out the blue. And we chanced it with both hands. We're a lucky one.
So in the world, Neil, of extended and prolonged periods of negotiations, this seems to happen quite quickly, and in the world of social media, quite quietly. That there wasn't any peeps or rumors. It kind of was announced, and it was like, oh my God, we've got this fight. So how did you manage to keep this under wraps, and how did you manage to get this deal done so quickly and so promptly?
No, it was just the Americans wanted it proactively done because they had a fight there. They needed an opponent, and they wasn't going to put up with it going backwards and forwards for weeks. So, given the dues, they sent us a clean contract. Frank Warren's team got stuck into it. I added my bits, and it got done. Normally, with fights, like you said, they all get out, they all get leaked, but there wasn't enough time for this to get leaked. And one thing we're good at, our team, is keeping our mouth shut. I don't think anything's ever been leaked, anything we've ever done, unless like the promoters putting it out or people are getting wind because it's gone into certain boards and different things. But normally we keep things very quiet anyway, mate.
Yeah, so with, like I say, the Spence Crawford fight, that seems to be as close as it's ever been. Was there ever a worry that Crawford had come in and offered this fight to Avanesyan to kind of give him leverage with the negotiations with Spence's team, that, you might have just been bringing you guys along for the ride? Was that ever a worry?
Yeah, of course it was, because we thought that could potentially happen, especially with not knowing the background. But they wanted a proactive negotiation, and that suits me down to the ground. I hate people who mess about. So it came in that quick. And but once we'd signed, we was on them. We want it back. We want that signed contract now. Respectfully, they've been good as gold, mate. I can't say anything bad about them guys. They've been really good, but I think as a fan, we was all disheartened with Spence and Crawford. But as a bigger fan, we've been through this before with Mayweather and Pacquiao. So even though I was sort of expecting the fight to happen, it didn't surprise me that they did go elsewhere, because that happens. Like Fury and Joshua, it does happen. So.
With, obviously, Avanesyan, you said earlier that as British fight fans, he's almost like an adopted Brit at the minute, working with yourself and Carl Greaves, doing a great job as his trainer. We know that he's due this break and this big opportunity. But I think it's fair to say that he's not been received too well in America, where he's not so well known. And I think that's coupled with the disappointment of the Spence fight not actually happening. So you guys are almost looked at as like the pantomime villain, if you like, without even meaning to, in the eyes of American fans, or non-Crawford fans. I think it's fair to say, Spence fans maybe. What do you make of that, Neil?
Yeah, 100%. But in our own admission, David fought in America 3 times. He beat Shane Mosley. He lost to Peets and he lost to Kavalauskas. So that's, unfortunately, there'll be short-sighted people who'll just look at that. But the fact is it was 4.5 years ago his last loss, and he's improved and massively improved. And any true boxing fan or people in the game, they know a fighter can improve in 4.5 years massively. You can build a world champion in 4 years, never mind improve a fighter who was already at world level. So it was a bit disappointing, but someone was going to get that backlash, and unfortunately it's us. But we can't have it all our own way, can we? And we like being the pantomime villain. Team Avanesyan, we like going upsetting the apple cart, don't we? So we love the negativity. So bring it on.
Absolutely. Do you think the fact that it's been 4.5 years since that last loss, and he's come back over to Europe and picked up some great momentum. You know, the wins against Kermit Lagaraga twice in Spain, the Josh Kelly fight, of course. Do you think that the fact that he's being underestimated again, do you think that's where Avanesyan and maybe Carl Greaves formulating the game plan and you guys as a team, do you think that's where you thrive, being underestimated and being written off, and you're going in there and trying to prove somebody wrong again?
Yeah, you can't have said it any better. We love it. We love the backs against the wall. Listen, I'm not going to go into detail, but if we told you things what happened in Josh Kelly's bubble and different things and all the bullshit and different things, it's just us. We're fighters. We love it. We love it. So you underestimate us at your peril, and we're going to come, and we're not going to suffer fools in any way, shape, or form. And David's got to be ready to give the performance of his life. And David's more experienced now, you know, and he knows it's his last big chance. So, you know, we're going to throw the kitchen sink at this. So, yeah, we love it, man. We love the backs to the wall, yeah.
So, of course, again, we'll go back to the fact that this was somewhat a surprise announcement to the boxing public. I think the fact that it was coupled with an unknown broadcaster or a new broadcaster in BLK Prime, I think they're called. I think that kind of added to the confusion as well, if you like, Neil. What can you tell us about those guys and the fact that I think, you know, it's rumoured that Terence Crawford is getting an 8-figure payday. Was there ever a worry from that side, the security side of things? I know you're very switched on and you look out for the best interest of your fighters. That goes without saying. But from your point of view, was there ever any worries and kind of like, you know, who are these guys that are funding this fight?
No, I got a financial advisor who quickly looked into it. They seem to have a lot of wool on the back. Spoke to a few people in America. Got a couple of negative reports, but they were probably the wrong people I should have asked, because they're opposing what they're trying to do. And then I dug a bit deeper to neutral, very intelligent people in America, and so-called are going to come in with a bang, and they mean business. So, you know, I trust my financial advisor, trusted the couple of people who did tell me in America positive things. Then I go off my gut of dealing with them. And then, you know, contractually, you can just secure the money, which is done. So we can't do any more. You know, I remember one time that when DAZN came into boxing, and I know, you know, and everybody was saying this app. You know, I know apps haven't kicked off the way, you know, DAZN would have liked. But apps have come into the sport, and no doubt more will. So, you know, we might be here in 5 years' time, people talking, wow, what a great first fight that was. You know, they've meant business, they've delivered, haven't they? So, you know, you've got to be wary. But when it's not like a British fighter, David. You know, he's a foreign fighter, and British fans have never really accepted many, not accepted, but there's never made a huge impact in the UK over the years. So when you look at that, you know, you're not going to bring a world champion to Newark or my area. So you had his age, 34. We had to take a chance at some point, and you know, we've took a chance with it, but we have done our due diligence. We've contracted it up to our satisfaction, and we've gone with our gut how they've been, and they've been fantastic. So, you know, you know, let's just hope it all goes there. I've no doubt. You know, they're asking me to do a load of media this week for him. Everything, what's expected. We've submitted visas, everything we're asking, they're doing. As far as I'm concerned, this fight's on 100%.
Fantastic to hear, Neil. You know, of course, after the back of the Josh Kelly fight, which seems an age away now, given that it was during the pandemic, there's been, you know, false promises, fights that fell apart. He's had a couple of tick-over fights, and he's looked spectacular in them, although I'd argue, you know, maybe not at the level that he would have wished to have fought at. But how relieved of you to finally get him into this kind of opportunity? Like I say, maybe off the back of the Josh Kelly fight, you might have expected something back then, but a few things have fell through. So, yeah, at this moment in time, how relieved and how proud are you to deliver this opportunity for David Avanesyan?
Oh, I'm delighted, mate. You know, time isn't on our side. And I think that's what probably put me under pressure. And, you know, without blowing my own trumpet, it's like when you've got a good team working for you, an opportunity will come. You know, I had him the WBA interim world title. I had him the Shane Mosley in the defence. I had him Lamont Peterson. We had him Kowalski if we won, we got Crawford. You know, we had the Virgil Ortiz at the final eliminator, but politics stopped. When you got a good team who can deliver, you know, and with Frank Warren now on my side, we was always going to deliver something. You know, was we going to deliver Terence Crawford? We didn't think that. We thought we'd have had to go a final eliminator. But, you know, we was confident in that something would have come. Because if you keep knocking on doors hard enough, something will come. We got a bit lucky with this, but we like I said, we deserved it. So listen, David deserves that opportunity. He's been Spain three times. He's been London. You know, he's been London twice. He deserves it. He's been in all these backyards, smashing everyone to bits, respectfully. And, you know, he deserves this opportunity. So, yeah, I'm delighted, really delighted. It's like icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's good to hear that, Neil. You know, something that, you know, we don't want to go too far into the politics of things because it can get murky, but given that Avanesyan, he's looked so good in his wins and he has picked up some wins against fighters that he wasn't fancied against, most notably Josh Kelly from a matchroom point of view. In your words or your thoughts, why do you think that maybe Eddie Hearn didn't afford him the opportunities he deserved after derailing Josh Kelly? We've got to remember Josh Kelly was a really hyped prospect with matchroom, and I dare say he would have fought for a world title had he beat Avanesyan or been, you know, afforded higher opportunities than what was given Avanesyan post-fight. You know, I don't want to put words in maybe Eddie Hearn's mouth, but why do you feel like Eddie just didn't take a liking to Avanesyan maybe?
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's a liking to Avanesyan, a liking to the whole team. It's like, you know, I do my job proper and some people don't like that. But ultimately, Eddie Hearn had one goal, and that was delivering David Avanesyan to Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly winning and taking our belt. He didn't see what Plan B was, and that's my opinion. You know, I think Eddie became under pressure with his own this last couple of years, finances, different things. So then you know you restrict your spending, which looks like it's happened. And I may be wrong, but that's the way it looks. Things change a bit, don't they? So you know, Eddie just wanted the Kelly fight. He didn't want anything else to do with us, in my opinion, mate. And hence we had to get away from that.
Absolutely. And how big of a role as Frank Warren, you know, from your point of view, like you say, that you didn't get the best of deals from Eddie Hearn. How big of a role has Frank Warren played in Avanesyan's career over the past couple of years? And what were the striking differences you've noticed since jumping from matchroom to Queensberry?
Oh, there's one difference. Frank's with us, Eddie wasn't. That's don't want to, you know, I'm getting a few people popping up saying, there he goes mentioning Eddie again. You guys ask the questions, I'll answer it. You know, everybody knows I don't like him. You know, I don't like the way he conducted himself with us. But the difference with Frank is when we sat down, we had offers off Sky, we had offers off Frank Warren, and we sat there and we looked, and there was a purse bid come out for Liam Taylor. And I know that like, you're a Manchester lad. Mm-hmm. Tell me Liam Taylor's a mug. You tell me Liam Taylor's a mug.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. But people in the country think he is because David smashed him bits. Respect. And I've got a lot of respect for Liam. We sparred afterwards and different things. I get on with the camp. So I've got nothing but respect. But what happened is, when we were due sign for Frank, Frank's lot said to me, what do you want? I said, we need activity. We need that. He said, okay, well, we'll win the purse bid. And we'll guarantee you a fight within 4 months. Or we'll try and win the purse bid. No one knew Sky, after we told them we wasn't signing for them, would still go in and win the purse bid. But they did. We thanked Sky for the opportunity. We professionally went about our business. We went on to Sky TV. We did the job. We then went over to Frank. Frank announced it after the fight. He gave us the Mets fight. David had more fights in that 4 months than he did with 2.5 years with Eddie. So that's the obvious difference. We'd been to Mexico City with Francis Warren. We're campaigning for Virgil Ortiz, and we get it. It was a wall that stopped it. You know, let's just say how it is. And then the other side trying to get in the middle of us to steal our position with a low ball offer, which Frank rejected. So the difference is in the last 12 months, we've had 2 good fights, 2 takeover fights, final eliminator ordered for a WBC opportunity against Spence, and then we've got the Terence Crawford fight. So look what we've achieved in a year. We've achieved massive differences compared to our Eddie Hearn days. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, and we don't want to go back and talk over spilt milk, given that you've got the opportunity of a lifetime here against Crawford. But I can only speak as a boxing fan, and you know, for the majority of boxing fans that I've spoke to, that it was a cause for frustration when the Virgil Ortiz fight didn't happen, because that felt like a really good fight at the right time. And like you say there was a wall there in the way. And I know maybe you can't go into it in too much depth, but how frustrating as a manager was that for you, given that it was frustrating for boxing fans that a fight like that couldn't take place? And we don't really get those kind of answers from promoters and things like that. It's just kind of, you know, swept under the rug, or they sidestep the question. So How frustrating was it for you being in the middle of it?
Oh, it was heartbreaking. It was like, you think about this. I flew to Mexico and it cost me about between 7 and 8 grand or something, maybe 10 grand all in. And then we asked for Virgil. I asked Mr. Mauricio Sullivan and myself, please give us Ennis or Ortiz. And the committee granted it. Now, so why would we jump out of it? Now, the war kicked off, we know that. And then David was always being registered in Russia as a Russian. You know, it was a travesty. You know, he left Armenia as a newborn when he was young, when he was a child, because they left the Azerbaijan versus Armenia war. So they resided in Russia. Russia took him in. And, you know, he's grateful for that. There's under no illusion. Russia took his family in. But they are Armenian, his mum and dad are Armenian, you know, and so we had to tidy all the paperwork. Now, what I believe happened is Virgil Ortiz was due to fight David on the zone. Now, other promoters were mixing bottles, say, Avanesyan's got a Russian passport. Don't forget, we've boxed on Sky, we've boxed on Eddie Earnshaw, we've boxed in Spain. And certain promoter who I do know were mixing a bottle, and I'm not going to say who, say they've got a Russian passport, get them out of that position. What's man? Excuse me language. What horrible bastards. That's what you're dealing with. And people don't understand why I'm angry with certain individuals. Right? So they've come in with a low ball offer to steal our position, knowing that Frank wouldn't accept it. Frank rung me up. He said, what's the number for Ortiz? And we said a very reasonable offer. Very reasonable offer. Frank said that should work. Went back and he couldn't get no more money out of it. Promoter needs paying. He's invested in Met. You know, he deserves. He wouldn't have even got his money back out the fight and he was still letting us do it. And it was like, you hear all this thing. It's like I've said to you, you'll hear loads of contradictory videos out there with certain promoters keep putting the foot in it saying this. Then another video says, you'll never get that with us. You'll always hear consistency because the truth is easy to be consistent with.
Absolutely, Neil. So moving on, in terms of Avanesyan's challenge of Crawford, I'm sure yourself, Carl Greaves, David himself are under no illusions of the task that's in front of him. Crawford's undefeated, considered maybe the pound for pound number one, certainly top three, undisputed world champion, multi-weight world champion. Just how big of an upset and an achievement would this be if Avanesyan goes in there and gets the win?
You know, how can I say? The bookies have David at 7-1. Well, that's not the biggest odds out there on fights, is it now?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's not just us thinking that it's not going to be that big of an upset. I'm under no illusion. I think Crawford beat Spence. I'm under no illusion. But we've just got to take him to a place he doesn't want to be. And you know, I'm not telling you tactics over a video. They know how we're going to go. This is too big of a chance. We need a bit of luck. We need Terence overlooking David. Terence is a better fighter than David, but David's starving and he's going to give absolutely everything that night. And there has been bigger upsets, haven't there? There's been bigger. Look, Andy Ruiz and Joshua, who expected that? Nobody expected that. Who expected Bivol and Canelo? Not many people, mate. You know, it's like only the purists thought Bivol was a real danger. And it was like there's lots of upsets happen. But if a 7-1 wins, it isn't as big of an upset as a 50-1 or go back many years ago, Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. What was Buster? 500-1 was he or something? You know, they happen. Why can't it happen for us? You know, we're under no illusion. The guy's a class act. He's a real slick boxer. But it's up to us to take away his strengths and hope for a bit of luck. But one thing is it's not going to be like a 1 or 2 round fight for Crawford. This, you know, David's going to empty everything, and he's going to be in a real fight, you know, and that's a promise to everybody who tunes in on it.
Absolutely, we look forward to that. Now, Neil, just before we close off, just a couple of words on the other of the 2 recent big announcements: Zach Parker against John Ryder, that we're headlining on a Queensborough show late in November. For the WBO interim title. So that's quite a carrot to be dangled, given that it's at super middleweight and Canelo holds all the titles at 168 pounds. Just after the frustrations of the Demetrius Andrade saga, if you want to call it a saga, how much of a relief was it to get a fight for Zach Parker and a fight with an opponent at the level of John Ryder?
Oh, massive, man. Buzzing. That's why we were Frank. You know, Frank knows how to develop and build superstars, mate, and you know, I'm that confident in Zach, and we've been very patient. Like when we don't get activity, I'll bang the drum and different things. But Frank would have given us a fight if we wanted in the middle of that saga. But you know, think about this: if we beat John Ryder at the time, it was the next available challenger. If Andrade pulled out, we then either become full world champion or become mandatory for Canelo. Why would you want to take a fight? You know, so Zach listens to me massively. He deserves it. You know, we've had problems with Zach with the previous promoters, and you know, not wanting to give fights. And you know, we've gone with Frank. He gives us 3 quick fights. Zach's getting better and better. But when you get John Ryder, we always knew there was a chance of John Ryder and Berlanga. But respectful to Matchroom, they've let John come across. I know why they've done it. They think that if John beats Zach, that they'll get Canelo in London on his world tour. But that's not going to happen. John Ryder's come across, and Zach's going to beat John Ryder that night. But I think Zach needed it on his resume, if you're honest. He's not been out of third gear yet. And John Ryder, for putting my matchmaking cap on, is a better fight in British boxing for Zach Parker in the super middleweight division. Name me one name what's as good as that. There isn't, is there?
No, it's a great fight.
And I thank Frank Warren so much. He's paid John a lot of money for that. Zach's got paid a lot of money for it. And you know, that's a promoter who's fully with you. And I can't thank Frank enough. I can't thank John Ryder enough. Even I thank Eddie for letting him come across. Don't hear much thanks out of me for Eddie, you know, but credit where credit's due. But it's a big fight.
Yeah, so with Zach, he's undefeated. He's fighting for this interim WBO world title. But it almost feels, and again, this might only be my opinion, Neil, but almost as if he's like Britain's best kept secret, that he's just waiting to burst out onto the scene. Do you feel like this could be Zach Parker's coming out party?
I couldn't have said it any better. It is, you know, like you look at the 3 fights, what we had, like again, in Manchester lad Marcus Morrison. Forget his last fight, because I think Zach's fight took a bit out of him before Densley got him. But Marcus had never been stopped. Born Alexander had never been stopped. And Kushinov had never been stopped. What the difference with Zach is, the previous years, I was always telling him he was having fights, then pulling him from him. Not no fault of mine. It was, you know, the promoter would give us a date, and then they'd move it, then they'd move it again, then they'd move it again. And it was demoralising for him. You know, we signed with Frank. Frank agreed to give him X, Y, and Z, fight every 4 months, because activity was the key. And he gave it him. But he got matched like with tough, durable kids to get in the rounds. And he smashed everyone to bits. And you know, you look at Vaughan Alexander. I think he's only ever been stopped once. Never, you know. And people say, "Oh well, who he fought?" It doesn't matter how good them foreign kids are. You're never going to get the respect you deserve compared to fighting a British kid like John Ryder. You know, and that's you're right. He is the best kept secret. He's got some heavy hands, mate. And let's see how John Ryder takes him, because he hits harder than Callum Smith. And, you know, got a lot of respect for Callum. He's achieved more than most boxers can dream of. But I just believe that Zach Parker's not Callum Smith.
Absolutely. We look forward to it, Neil. It's going to be a busy few weeks into the run-up into Christmas. We wish you the best of luck for it, and I thank you for your time tonight. You take care, and I guess we'll catch up real soon.
Thanks for your time, mate, and good luck with your channel, yeah?